tearing through the haze. Kids lost screaming in the system's maze. Lies unfold behind paper-thin walls. Stealing hope, ripping dreams, all the calls. Gunning for justice, we won't back down. Fighting for the lost in every broken town. Judges blind, caseworkers turn their eyes. Lift your fist, scream, their lies won't paralyze. Families they shatter with the stroke of a pen. Truth buried deep, oh here we go again. Gunner's voice pounding, raising up the fight. Justice ain't a whisper, it's a battle tonight. Gunning for justice, we won't back down. Fighting for the lost in every broken town. Judges blind, caseworkers turn their eyes. Lift your fist, scream, their lies won't paralyze. Families they shatter with the stroke of a pen. Truth buried deep, oh here we go again. Gunner's voice pounding, raising up the fight. Justice ain't a whisper, it's a battle tonight. System cracks, red tape wins tight, but the spirit won't break, even in the night. From the ashes, the cry gonna rise up strong. With every heartbeat, it fuels the song. Corruption crawls, spreading like a fire. But passion burns hotter, crawling up higher. The system ain't ready for the storm that's us. One by one, we're breaking their rust. Corruption crawls, spreading like a fire. But passion burns hotter, crawling up higher. The system ain't ready for the storm that's us. One by one, we're breaking their rust. Oh! Kicking up dust on the courthouse steps. Families torn, hearts full of regrets. Caseworkers spinning lies like a web. Judges gavel, thunders, families shred. Gunner's voice cuts through the static haze. Truth like thunder in the broken maze. Bringing kids back, breaking down the walls. Roots deep in truth, justice.
Well, who are we going to piss off today? Guys, welcome to another edition of Gunning for CPS. I'm your host, Gunner. That's right, the guy that was permanently banned from TikTok for sharing the same information we share here. Federal case law, how things are done, and was labeled for misinformation. Guys, we've got a great show for you tonight. We have got an exceptional amount of case law here and stay tuned, because this is going to make a difference in all of your cases. A lot of your cases, especially if, well, let's just put it this way. We'll get there when we get there, but we've got a lot of ground to cover tonight. There's a lot of things happening in our country. There's a lot of changes. There's a lot of things that a lot of people don't understand that are happening, and why things are happening, and why the Constitution is being constantly brought up now. Articles saying, yes, the power is invested in the president, so on and so forth. Folks, what we're doing is we're returning to the Constitution, the original Constitution, and shaking off the chains slowly, because most people can't understand what's going on. If you did, your mind would go, whoa, that's too much to handle. And the people that are doing what they're doing, they're peeling back the onion pieces layer by layer. And it's so you have time to adapt. At the same time, it gives your mind a chance to catch up, because and once again, it's going to come down to, a lot of us have been living in a world of lies, of manipulation, and a form of slavery that we just don't understand. And some of that goes including with organizations like CPS, that during those corrupt things, as you know, Lyndon Johnson, it has been confirmed, Lyndon Johnson did take and hire somebody to commit the assassination of JFK. It has been declassified. It has been told. We need to get a hold of the history of this, because those were the people that were let's put it this way, the biggest form of being a mobster, especially during that time, was not doing a bunch of illegal stuff. It was doing it under the guise of the law, or what the state laws were doing. Even to the point of activating certain things like the federal government. Hey, we need to adapt. We need to have this branch of the government to do something to oversee this, as far as what the the Department of Justice, the FBI answers to the Department of Justice. They are their investigators, their crimes, they're their evidence gatherers, and everything else. That's who they work for. That's their primary task. Is when the DOJ says we're building a case, FBI is gathering all these things to go in there. Yes, they did take and declassify. I think there's a couple pages left on the JFK, the Martin Luther King. I mean, it's slowly coming out, but once again, just finding out what's happening with just the JFK thing is enough to blow your mind. Wow. Because a lot of us were like, yeah, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. We know a few things, ballistics, this and that. If that shot come from there, the lean would be different. This would have been different. But anyway, that's all now been revealed. There's no more conspiracy theory about it. It has been confirmed. But man, what a shame in a time of history that sitting members of Congress would take a hit out on a president. Just baffles me, because he was going to reveal and do the things that Donald Trump is doing now, is all it comes down to. But guys, we've got a great thing. Listen, and let's talk about one thing too when it comes with case law and why certain things are under certain directives. One of them being the Department of Education. Now, I know this is a hot topic for a lot of you guys, and you deal with your kids and everything else. But guys, I want you to watch what's going on in our classrooms. That's going to blow your mind. This, the obey, the sit, the you will do as you're told, I am over you type thing, instead of it being an experience. Well, let's just watch the video, and here we go.
If you'd like to remain in my class.
What? There's no
Take the hat off if you want to remain in my class. Take the hat off.
We're in history.
Okay, regardless of whatever the hat says, there's no hats allowed in the classroom. You see anyone else wearing hats? No. So take it off. It's very disrespectful to the class.
Disrespectful to who? You?
Just take the hat off right now.
I'm not taking the hat off.
You want to take the hat off? Or you want to keep it on? Then you can keep it on outside of my classroom.
I'd be more than happy to. Your fucking class sucks ass anyway.
Good.
You teach history.
Yeah,
But you're not going to teach them what the right history is. You still got this stupid ass Gulf of Mexico up there. It's Gulf of America. Gulf of America.
Mexico, you
All right,
moron.
hey, have fun in this bunk ass classroom.
Get out.
Whoa. Now let's cover a couple things in that video. One, he pointed out that the teacher was teaching history and why they were teaching this perspective of history, and they're not getting all the truth. Because why? There's a whole lot of truth they're not telling you or teaching you in the classroom. One of them being your constitutional rights. The other one being is that kids are graduating high school and being able to vote that do not know how to read the original documents of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. They've dumbed them down. If you don't know your rights, you don't know what it says and what it means and how it translates to modern society, how are you going to know to fight for them? Yet places like CPS want to shove your kids in that same system because then they can keep track of them. They hate homeschoolers. You don't believe me? Ask a homeschooler. 100%. So this is going to blow your mind. And guys, welcome, Dallas, Minnie, Sharon. Great to have you guys tonight. But that's what's going on in our classrooms. Now let's address the other thing that he went in there, Gulf of America, not Gulf of Mexico. Let's go back to the Constitution. Why was it renamed? Okay, let's add this in here. Why did he offer for Canada to be the 51st state of the Union? Literally put it out there for the public. President can't just, hey, why don't you put in your application? We'll be more than happy to review it and probably make you a state. Remove the tariffs, you become a state. Wait a minute, we couldn't do that. We were told, we were told the fact that we couldn't have any more states. Well, that was under the second Constitution, the illegal one. Why? Yes, the stories are true of Ulysses S. Grant at the end of the Civil War. We were broke. Therefore, because we didn't want to come under English rule, we wanted our independence. We were offered by, yes, and you know the names and everything else, as businessmen to loan us money and to have interest in that. And we had to have something tangible or tradable. What do you have to offer as collateral? The only thing that they had to offer as collateral is you and me, labor units. So for a while when that came off, that's fine. But then they said, hey, we need to take and track this a little bit better because we want a bigger loan. We've got more people and they want us to verify it. Well, that was sold under the Social Security Act of 1935. Let's give them numbers. You've heard the terms dead naming, living man, all those are, guys, every bit of it's true. And I hate to break it to you, and you're going to find out one way or another. Every bit of it's true. Yes, you are traded on the stock exchange. They even take loans out under your Social Security number where you can have 4 to 6 different accounts with different amounts of money in it. It's true. I've seen it. Not just from one person, multiple people. But when he talks about the Gulf of America and the 51st state, it's because we're rolling back to the original Constitution. All the treaties, all the other things that were signed in violation of the Constitution are now null and void. Welcome back to the Constitution slowly as we walk you through what should have been from the beginning. That is what's going on. And how does it affect the case law and everything else? Staying true to the federal case law, the rulings about the Constitution, is a huge thing. And you've heard a lot of states and a lot of cops, policemen, sheriffs, whatever, we'll generalize them. We'll call them cops because it's a generic name. Okay, it'll include your sheriff's deputy from Do the Best. That turn around and say, well, you've broken state law. You have broken state speeding law and this law. Actually, no, that's not true, because states can't make laws. That power is exclusively reserved for Congress of the United States of America. 100%. The division, or the third part of the triangle of the branches of government under the thing, Congress is the only one to make law. The judicial branch is there to interpret the law and apply the law. So all these things here, we should have been talking about. What do states have? Codes, statutes, all that other stuff. When you get a speeding ticket, it'll say your state and then code like annotated or so-and-so code. That only applies to the government. The government, your state government, was only supposed to take and regulate commerce within its state. Commercial. Those don't apply to you and I. And if you're going to say, oh, he's off the deep end, he's off there, it's true. Because the law says it. You can't have it both ways. You can't say the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, but the states, we're going to make a bunch of other laws and everything else to do what we want to do. That's an act of treason under the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. Treason. That's right. We're going to be throwing that word up a lot. Treason, sedition. Get used to it, because it's meaning to undermine the people and the Constitution. And that's the thing that we don't want to talk about. Now, it goes so far as we have another one up here, and this is going to blow your mind. Now, this is, wow. And we showed this on another show when we broke the news on this. And I want you guys to watch this. This is what's happening in our hospitals, or our port of entries. That's right. They're called port of entries. I want you to watch what they're trying to force people into. This is going to blow your mind.
Force me to put my kid on ADHD medicine, or else you're going to call CPS on me?
Let's be real. I never said anything about forcing you. I'm saying this is what's recommended for your kid. You have to put your kid on these meds. Like, this is best for your kid. I'm trying to do you a favor. Not even do you a favor. Do what's best for your child. And if you don't follow these instructions, ma'am, I will be forced to call CPS.
So you are forcing me. You're saying either I put my kid on medication that they don't need.
I will be forced to call CPS. What you're doing right now is jeopardizing your kid, jeopardizing your kid's future. I'm not trying to sit here and argue with you. I'm not debating with you. I'm the doctor, so I'm telling you what's best for you and your kid.
But I don't understand, because my child has not shown any symptoms of ADHD, and I'm asking if I can get a second opinion, and you're telling me no, either put my child on medication or you're calling CPS. That's forcing me.
You asked about a second opinion. I am your second opinion. I'm the doctor.
No, you're not. You were the first opinion.
Okay. All right. Well, first and second. Why? I'm your doctor. If you don't trust your doctor, then you shouldn't be, coming here. Which is crazy for you to think that you wouldn't want to.
If I trusted my doctor wouldn't be threatening me with calling CPS.
Well,
that would be me trusting my doctor.
Like I said, it's not a threat. It's not a threat. I'm trying to do what's best for you and your kid. If you love your kid enough, then you will listen to my words.
Don't tell me if I love my kid or not. That's my kid. That's my kid.
Okay, I understand that's your kid, but understand that I'm the doctor. I'm doing what's best for your kid. I'm literally showing you the results. I'm giving you the best advice. Put your kid on these medications because it's best for them. If not, by law, I am forced to call CPS, because you're showing signs that you don't love your kid enough to actually put your kid on these medications.
I have never heard this. We came here for a checkup. Their teachers have never, ever asked me to get them tested for ADHD. Okay. So this is a surprise to me, which is why I asked for a second opinion. And now you're just threatening to call CPS on me. That doesn't make any sense.
Fine, but look at how you're acting. Look at how you're acting. That's why, of course, your teacher's not going to tell you that your kid is. These kids run around all day and they play and they're hyper and they do what they do, correct?
Right. So my kid's a normal kid. You know what? Call CPS. Call CPS. They're going to see my clean, loving home.
Whoa. Whoa. But they're not in bed with CPS, right? That's what we've been getting retaliation and feedback and from other places. We don't work with CPS. We don't do. There's your evidence. Well, that's not every. Yes, it's every doctor, every nurse, and everything else. Mandatory reporter. and how much of a God complex they get once you're in my home. Number two, you practice medicine. You will never master it. Oh, yeah, I said it. You will always practice medicine. You will never master it. I've held 2 masters. Not in college shit that actually takes and works and applies to the real world, that makes everything go round. That's right, the people you don't care about, the people whose children you've been kidnapping. They're interconnected. We've been trying to share that and break this on the show. They've been taking babies, giving epidurals to young mothers, and then, excuse me, congestive heart failure. It's called cardiac cough. Yes, they've tried to kill me, but I'm still here. They will give epidurals to mothers during labor. Then they will test the umbilical cord and possibly the baby and the mother and say, hey, there's now this drug in your system and look how high and concentrated in. You must be a junkie. And they report it and they take your kid because you have tested positive. But what they don't tell you, and the thing that was being revealed, is the hospital was administering the drug, that the drug test and the drug testing methods, which were impeccable by the hospital lab companies. Yeah, but how did she get them? The hospital gave them to him. Now what? That's called, that's conspiracy to commit a felony, is what that's called. You gave her the drugs and that's the whole hospital. Yes, it's a federal lawsuit against the hospital, and it's not hard to prove. The other thing is, with this doctor, I'm going to break HIPAA, my privilege, and let's put it this way. Let me explain something. And this goes for attorneys too, so you guys do understand this. Let's put it this way. Your attorney-client privilege or your doctor-client-patient privilege doesn't lie with the fucking doctor or lawyer people, and they're lying to you. It lies with you and me, we the people. They have been lying to you. The privilege lies with the client, with the one receiving the attention. That's where the privilege, and until I revoke that privilege, and I have to willingly do it, it doesn't happen. You've broken the law. But the thing is now you're dealing with corrupt court systems that they're all making money off this. It's a big RICO act. All of it, it's all interconnected. And before somebody, oh, look out, you're going to get killed, they're going to come after you, or all this other crap, or you want after me, that's fine, because here's the thing. All that evidence has already been turned over to the FBI and the Department of Justice. That's why I tell you guys, stay tuned, because you have no clue what's getting ready to happen and what we're about to be a part of. And that's all I can say. Why? Officially, I can't comment on an ongoing federal investigation, but we can talk about case law and everything else right here. And that's as far as it goes. All I'll tell you is guys that are out there, if you're watching now, like, share, follow the show, and you'll get notifications, especially from YouTube. If you want to interact with us and be part of our commentary over here and talk amongst the backsides, and I keep an eye on it too. Basically, guys, it's too late. It's already out there. Who do you think we've been working with? Hello, wake the fuck up. And when you realize what's going to happen, how it's all connected, all of it, every bit of it. So guys, like and follow, share our show, share what's going on, because you'll not want to miss. You'll want the notification one day that we will put out. Trust me. And it will not be in a time or place or anything else that you think it'll be. But trust me, this entire country will fuck around and find out. Same thing with anything else. But listen, guys, getting back onto what we've got going here, and here's the other thing. She was talking about ADHD and all that other stuff. Guys, I want to share another video, and I want just watch it, and then we'll have a conversation here. Let me get this thing spun up here. Guys, excuse me, I have one screen. I do miss my old office. Unfortunately, with my health, I no longer have that type of stuff. I used to have multiple screens, and it was a great thing to have. Maybe one day we will go back to it and have the possibility of doing that. But right now, we're doing the best we can. We are limited. We do this for free, and understand that we take no profit off of these shows or sharing this information with you guys. We're not asking you to donate to anything or any of this other stuff. We're asking you to just educate and get that information out to you, the parents, the grandparents, the parents to be. Guys, you need to arm yourselves with the Constitution, because that's what's happened is you've been dumbed down. You don't know your rights. They've been getting away with this shit. And then you've got corrupt judges and everything else that's not even following. Let's put it this way. They're not even following their own court procedures. Okay. They're holding on to jurisdiction on the cases they don't have jurisdiction for. They are on purpose. And I'm going to say this on purpose. And why? Because I'll prove it in a fucking court of law. And yeah, that gets me a little irritated. And every once in a while, I'm going to use some profanity. Welcome to the First Amendment. We're pissed off. Why? Because these judges and magistrates that were put in these positions in these family courts don't give a shit about you or your family. And they do it for profit. And we can trace it back. Oh yeah, we can connect it all the way to child support. And child support being, that's a whole nother show. Trust me, we will get to child support and what that does for it. And yes, child support is unconstitutional because it's a violation of separation of powers. 100%. That has been confirmed. Now, let's get to this video. And I want to just watch this thing. This thing will blow your mind.
Documented school shootings in America conducted by teenagers. Do you know 100% of them were on either an antidepressant or on a barbiturate drug for anxiety? And every one of these antidepressants, including Prozac, Zoloft, Xanax, you name them, all these anti-anxiety drugs and antidepressants, do you know every single one of them are published to increase the risk of suicide behavior and actions, and I quote, lead to violent and homicidal actions. 100% of all school shooters, for the documented 52 years of history, we've been tracking them and studying them, 100% of all the shooters were on drugs that are published and prescribed by your medical doctor.
Oh, did he just connect the dots between a drug that has a ton of side effects, including going out of your mind and murdering schools? But wait a minute. We were told it was a gun issue. No, it wasn't. It was a medication issue. We have something messed up in our brains. Now, let's run down the rabbit hole. And I know my wife's going to love me for this one. Check this out. And RFK, shout out to RFK for what he's doing in our food, in the food system, and getting those things off, is the consumption over the period of time. See, I'm a Gen X. We have consumed nothing but this fucking garbage, and I'm calling it garbage, absolute fucking garbage, with all these little additives, because somebody in there that run the food companies and the other companies bought up all this stuff, say, hey, let us use these man-made chemicals in our foods. And our process here in the United States, that until it's found to cause a reaction, it's not going on the list. No testing. Till we get a report, we're going to put it out there. Wait till you can see it. You are now our guinea pigs. Guinea pigs. 100% guinea pigs. And it passed. And that has been the thing that RFK is dealing with now, that says, why are we doing that and using people as experiments of, hey, it's fine till they get sick? Well, guess what? We got sick. Alzheimer's, diabetes, heart failure, all sorts of all these other conditions. We come to find out that they're from parasites and too much sugars and all these additives. Do you know what red dye 40 does to a child's brain? Whoa. Go look that one up. Red dye 40. What that does to your brain chemistry will blow your mind. And that's what they're saying. It is doing harm. It is doing things. We're seeing the side effects of it. Why do you see so many kids out there with ADHD? Here's why. All that garbage we ate went into our DNA. So then when we have children, they try to develop something to where they're almost immune to those things. That's a part of, and I'm going to use the word properly, evolving as humans as we go through time to adapt to our environment. We're supposed to do that. Some of us don't make it, and one particular thing happens or not. If you don't believe me, sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia was a reaction to a disease, a virus that was going around in Africa, and the body's natural reaction was to give you sickle cell. So you wouldn't, I think it was malaria, so you wouldn't catch it. It was the body's natural reaction. And they had once again, a solution to the problem. Now, that's something that happens natural in nature. And then big pharma or the petroleum-based businesses try to base things off of things that are found in nature, because here's the rule. You cannot make a profit off of something found naturally in nature. In other words, you can't label it as some specific thing. You can, you can add things to it, then you can market it. That's why you say, well, why don't you just give me the raw thing? Because we can't. And that was under Food and Drug Administration. Why? You guys do realize modern medicine is less than 200 years old, right? You realize the old, holistic medicines, Chinese medicine, not saying they don't, they do work. They found out they do work, but they can't make money off them. We're one of the only countries left that doesn't use holistic medicine and moving to nothing but big pharma. And you can't patent something found in nature. Yeah, Sharon, 100%. Now they poison you over a generation. Now here's the trick with CPS. They know this. Now they created between the companies providing our food to give us children that all have ADHD or a bunch of different problems. Autism's off the scale. We're not going to go into why, but most of you out there can have understood a few things. All of a sudden we got autism. They even had a thing to where they were spraying kids. You can watch the videos as they're going by in the streets with these foggers. Oh, we're taking care of mosquitoes. The kids are taking baths in it. But we've got to find balance is the problem, and there's no money in it, but that's not what's best for the American people is the problem, is what RFK is saying. This is not in the best interest of the American people. This is in the best interest of big pharma, people that are making money. We need to have balance. We need to clean our food up. Why? Because we're going to be healthier. Your body works better when it operates the way it's supposed to. So anything modern is a nice little touch, but there's some things that you probably haven't done. When was the last time that you basically dewormed yourself or cleansed yourself or heavy metals or anything else? There's several of us that live in certain areas that are prognosed to certain things that are in the ground or certain things that are leaching through, that we have to take a different supplement because of where we live and what our exposure is to our environmentals. That is normal. That's why the one size fits all thing doesn't work, not even in this country. Why? Go tell that to somebody that's down in Florida getting sunshine and rained on about every 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It works like clockwork. Yes, been down there and every day. But once again, or, Texas, the heat, Arizona, the dry heat, man, you don't feel it, but man, it'll burn the hell out of you. But damn, it don't feel warm. No, because it's dry and it'll scorch you like the sun. Then you get close to the coast and you got California that's split. And then up north where you got, the Rockies in Colorado and through some other states. Now, all of a sudden you've got different elevations. Well, you telling me that there ain't a difference between being at sea level and being at a different elevation? Your body reacts like crazy. You don't believe me? Do your ears pop? Everybody's different. So this one size fits all, especially for CPS for stuff, it's going to blow your mind. And here's the other thing. Let me just put this out here. It's not just our president. It's not just this. It's going to come down to we the people. See, here's the thing. You only needed a lawyer because you weren't intelligent enough to represent yourself in court and make an argument and understand it. They confused you with the states because they brought in a whole different vocabulary under legalese and all this other stuff. When you get to federal court, they don't play that game because they're going to go under constitutional and federal law. They're not playing state's game. And the first thing a federal judge will do, for especially to somebody from the whatever state it is you're facing, they'll say, well, state law, blah, blah, blah. The first thing that federal judge is going to say, I don't care. This is federal court. We're dealing with federal issues, and we're going to address them according to the federal law. That is the response you should get from every federal judge, except for the corrupt ones. Now, everybody says, well, what are they doing about the corrupt ones? Hey, what about the federal corrupt judges? Well, I got something special for y'all tonight. Some stuff happened on this week that maybe some of you just didn't catch, okay? But tonight, we're going to share it with you, and you're going to love it. I guarantee it. Watch this, guys.
When a biased anti-Trump judge tries to humiliate J.D. Vance in court, he believes he holds all the power. But when Vance pushes back, karma strikes fast, leaving the entire courtroom in stunned silence. Before we dive in, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The day started like any other at the federal courthouse, except Judge Marshall Davis was in an especially foul mood. I said, "No coffee in my courtroom," he snapped at his clerk, making the young woman flinch. Then, without missing a beat, he barked, "And tell that defense team if they're not here in 2 minutes, I'm issuing contempt charges." The packed gallery watched as Davis stormed to his bench, his face already flushed with irritation. His reputation for harsh rulings was well known, but lately his behavior had become even more erratic, especially in cases involving conservative figures. A court clerk approached hesitantly. "Your Honor, Vice President Vance has arrived for his testimony." Davis's expression soured instantly. "Well, isn't that special?" he sneered, making no effort to hide his disdain. "Make sure he knows this isn't the Senate floor. In my courtroom, his title means nothing." The atmosphere shifted the moment J.D. Vance entered. J.D. Vance moved with quiet dignity, nodding respectfully to the court staff as he approached the witness stand. But Judge Marshall Davis watched him like a hawk, drumming his fingers against the bench, his irritation already palpable. The tension in the courtroom was thick. Everyone in the gallery knew what this was really about. Davis didn't just dislike conservatives. He despised them. And J.D. Vance, a Trump ally sitting right in front of him, that was fuel on the fire. Davis leaned forward, voice dripping with contempt. "Let's get something straight." The courtroom fell silent. "I don't care what position you hold in Washington. In this courtroom, I am the law. Is that clear, Mr. Vance?" J.D. met the judge's gaze, unshaken. "Crystal clear, Your Honor. I'm here simply as a witness to the truth." "Truth?" Davis scoffed. "We'll see about that." He turned to the defense table, his mood already souring further. "Now, let's get this circus started." The moment the defense attorney began his opening statement, Davis cut him off. "For the record, I'm already tired of the political theatrics in my courtroom." His eyes flicked toward Vance. "This isn't a campaign rally." The attorney tried again. "Your Honor, we're simply establishing the context of Mr. Sterling's charitable." Davis barked out a mocking laugh. "The context? The context is that your client is accused of tax evasion. Period. I don't need a history lesson about his so-called charitable work." Every time the attorney mentioned Sterling's community contributions, Davis shut him down with increasing hostility. "Irrelevant. Move on. I won't warn you again." The gavel slammed down repeatedly, so much so that the court reporter struggled to keep up. But when it was J.D. Vance's turn to testify, Davis's behavior became outright unhinged. "Stand up straight when you take the oath," he snapped, though Vance's posture was already perfect. "And speak clearly. I won't have any political doublespeak in my court." The condescension was obvious, but Vance didn't flinch. "Your Honor, I can attest to Mr. Sterling's financial transparency regarding the Faith and Family Foundation." Davis rolled his eyes theatrically. "Oh, here we go. Another conservative fairy tale about family values." The gallery shifted uncomfortably. Even the prosecution looked uneasy at how blatantly the judge was broadcasting his bias. But Davis wasn't finished. He leaned forward, his face turning a deeper shade of red. I've seen enough rich conservatives try to hide their money behind charitable facades. Your presence here doesn't impress me, Mr. Vice President. Then, with a smirk, he added, in fact, it makes me question the defendant's character even more. A low murmur ran through the courtroom. The judge wasn't even pretending to be impartial anymore. J.D. Vance remained composed, his calmness only seeming to infuriate Davis more. The judge's hands trembled slightly as he shuffled through his papers, his eyes darting toward a specific stack of documents on his desk. That's when Vance delivered the first real blow. I have here, he continued steadily, documented evidence of Mr. Sterling's charitable contributions, including the March meetings. Davis nearly jumped out of his seat. Those records are inadmissible, he practically shouted, though no one had even objected. The courtroom fell into stunned silence. A few jurors exchanged uncertain glances. The defense attorney stood cautiously. Your Honor, on what grounds are you? Don't you dare question my rulings. Davis's face was now bright red. One more word, and you'll be joining your client in contempt. The prosecutor shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't judicial discretion anymore. This was a personal vendetta. J.D. Vance spoke up, his voice still firm yet respectful. Your Honor, these documents were properly submitted during discovery. Davis let out a bitter chuckle. Oh, were they? And I suppose your fancy White House connections had nothing to do with that? Then, narrowing his eyes, he sneered. Let me tell you something about your kind, Mr. Vice President. You think you can waltz into my courtroom with your political privilege and... Objection, Your Honor! The defense attorney had finally found his courage. But before he could even finish his objection, Davis slammed the gavel down so hard that it echoed through the room. Sit down, he bellowed. The courtroom fell deathly silent. The jury, the gallery, even the prosecution sat frozen. For the first time, it was clear. Judge Davis wasn't in control of this courtroom anymore. His rage had given him away. And J.D. Vance, he had just exposed it. Silence. Davis roared, slamming his gavel so hard the sound ricocheted through the chamber. This is completely inappropriate. His face was red, his breathing heavy. But J.D. Vance remained unfazed, his expression unreadable. I will not be lectured about appropriateness in my own court, especially not by some conservative puppet and his. Your Honor, Vance interjected smoothly, perhaps we should discuss the specific contents of the March 15 meeting? The shift in Davis's demeanor was instant and striking. The rage in his face flickered, replaced by something else. Was it fear? His hand, still gripping the gavel, froze midair. He stared at Vance as if truly seeing him for the first time. Those meetings are not relevant to these proceedings, he stammered, his voice suddenly less certain. But his eyes kept darting to a particular folder on his bench, one that seemed to have appeared that very morning. Not relevant? Vance asked quietly, leaning forward. That's interesting, Your Honor, considering those meetings directly involve charitable contributions to... Enough. Davis slammed both hands on his bench, the sound echoing in the stunned silence. One more word about those meetings, and I'll have you removed. The courtroom watched in disbelief as the judge's composure continued to crumble. His hands were visibly shaking as he shuffled papers, desperate to regain control. His voice took on a frantic edge. In fact, I'm holding you in contempt right now. You think your position protects you? You're nothing but a Trump lackey in an expensive suit. A murmur swept through the gallery. The prosecutor shifted in his seat, looking more uncomfortable by the second. The court officers exchanged uncertain glances. J.D. Vance never raised his voice. He didn't have to. Your Honor, my position has nothing to do with this. He reached into his briefcase. But since you mentioned protection, perhaps we should discuss the Liberty Foundation's protection payments. Davis's face went from red to white in an instant. His jaw clenched. His breathing hitched. How dare you? His voice cracked. I mean, what payments? There were no guards. Remove this man from my courtroom. The court officers didn't move. Everyone saw what was happening now. Vance calmly pulled out a stack of documents. Actually, Your Honor, I have some very interesting bank records here. He held them up, letting the room take them in. Would you like to explain the monthly deposits from offshore accounts that coincidentally align with your rulings against conservative defendants? Shut up. Davis's outburst was primal, his last attempt to maintain control. You have no right. No authority. I am the law here. Me, not some conservative bootlicker who... Vance raised another document. Your signature on these authorization forms suggests otherwise, Your Honor. Davis lunged forward, pointing a trembling finger at Vance. You planted those. This is a setup, a conservative conspiracy to... He caught himself, but it was too late. The courtroom gasped. A conspiracy? Vance repeated softly. Interesting choice of words, Your Honor, especially given your private meetings with certain activist groups. Davis was practically foaming at the mouth now. I will not be interrogated in my own court, his voice cracked. You think you can come in here with your smug face and your evidence? He spat the last word like it was poison. Vance, ever composed, turned to another page. Evidence, he echoed. That shows a disturbing pattern. He glanced toward the jury. Like the Thompson case last month, where a small business owner lost everything because you wouldn't allow evidence of his charitable work to be presented, just like today. Davis let out a hysterical laugh. The Thompson case? That conservative fraud deserved what he got. They all do. These people think they can hide behind their so-called faith and family values. The room fell into stunned silence. Davis's own words hung in the air like a death sentence. Vance barely blinked. Or, he continued, pulling out another document, perhaps we should discuss the Wilson hearing, where you mysteriously sealed all records just hours after meeting with representatives from the Liberty Foundation. The judge's face twitched violently. His lips parted, but no words came out. How do you know about? He stopped abruptly, realizing his slip. Vance tilted his head. Know about what, Your Honor? The meeting? Or the $100,000 in your offshore account the next day? Davis's entire body went rigid. The gavel slipped from his grasp, clattering against the bench. The prosecutor stood up abruptly, finally realizing what he was witnessing. The jury members exchanged glances, their decision already made. The judge had lost more than his temper. He had lost everything. The gallery erupted in murmurs, the sound swelling like a rising tide. Davis slammed his gavel down repeatedly, but each strike felt more desperate than the last. Order, order, I will have order. His voice cracked with panic. This is all fabricated, a conservative plot to... Like Mrs. Anderson's case? Vance pressed on, his tone steady. A grandmother who lost her life savings because you wouldn't let her explain where the money came from? Interesting how the company that sued her donated to your re-election campaign just weeks before. Shut up, Davis screamed, his composure completely shattered. You have no right, no authority. I am the law here. Me. No, Your Honor. Vance's calm voice cut through the chaos. You're not the law. You're supposed to serve it, like when you took your oath of office the same day you opened that account in the Caymans. Davis shot up from his seat, his robes disheveled, pointing wildly at Vance. Guards! Arrest this man for contempt. Seize those documents, all of them. Now! What are you waiting for? I gave you an order. The court officers hesitated, exchanging uneasy glances. Something had changed. Before they do that, Your Honor, Vance continued, unbothered, perhaps we should discuss why you're so eager to seize these particular documents. I don't have to explain myself to you, Davis snarled. His wild pacing behind the bench made him look more like a caged animal than a judge. I am a federal judge. My decisions are final. My authority is absolute. Vance leaned back slightly, almost amused. Absolute authority, Your Honor, seems to be a recurring theme with you. Just like in the Williams case last week, where you ordered all evidence of your private meeting sealed. Davis froze mid-stride. How did you? He stopped, his lips going tight. Those records were supposed to be. He caught himself again, but the damage was done. Vance tilted his head. Supposed to be what, Your Honor? Destroyed? Like the records from the Liberty Foundation meetings? Enough, Davis roared, his face contorted with fury. You self-righteous conservatives think you can come into my courtroom and expose... His breath hitched. He had said too much. Expose what exactly? Vance pressed. The systematic abuse of judicial power? The coordinated targeting of conservative defendants? Or perhaps the payments you've been receiving too? I said silence! Davis snapped completely. He grabbed his gavel and hurled it across the courtroom, narrowly missing his own clerk. You want to talk about abuse of power? Davis shouted, practically frothing at the mouth. I'll show you abuse of power. Officers, I want this man in handcuffs now. and anyone who refuses my order will be joining him in jail. The courtroom had become eerily silent. Even Davis's heavy breathing seemed amplified in the thick, tense air. The officers still hadn't moved. Their faces showed a clear conflict between duty and conscience. Davis leaned forward, his eyes dark with rage. "Last chance, Mr. Vance," he snarled, his voice dripping with venom. "Hand over those documents and submit to arrest, or I'll make sure you never set foot in another courtroom again." Vance merely flipped open another folder. "That's an interesting threat, Your Honor. Almost identical to what you told Sarah Mitchell before dismissing her discrimination case, right after you met with CEO James Peterson." Davis's face went ghostly pale. "What? How did you?" "Peterson," Vance continued, unfazed, "who deposited $500,000 into your Cayman account. The same Peterson who hosted that private yacht meeting last month, the one where 7 other judges were present, all of whom mysteriously ruled in his favor the following week." Davis's hands curled into fists. "You have no right," he shrieked, spittle flying from his mouth. "Those records are privileged. Those conversations were private." Vance's tone turned sharp. "Private? Like the recordings from your chambers?" Davis staggered. "What recordings?" The courtroom collectively held its breath. Vance glanced toward the clerk's desk. "The ones where you explicitly told your clerk to lose evidence that would have exonerated 3 conservative defendants." A sharp gasp came from the other side of the room. The clerk, still seated at her desk, burst into tears. "He made me do it," she sobbed. "He said he'd ruin my career if I didn't." "Silence," Davis thundered, but his authority was crumbling. His face was beet red, veins bulging, his entire body trembling. "None of this is admissible. You can't prove." "Actually," Vance interrupted smoothly, "everything was obtained legally." He flipped open another page. "Your own security cameras caught the midnight document shredding. Your own phone recorded the threats. Your own signature authorized the transfers." Davis lunged forward, reaching desperately across his bench. "Give me those files. I order you to. Order denied." The new voice came from the back of the courtroom. Every head turned. A team of FBI agents strode down the center aisle, their badges flashing under the bright courtroom lights. The lead agent's voice rang out, clear and unshakable. "This court is now under federal investigation." He locked eyes with Davis. "Judge Marshall Davis, stay where you are." Davis's breath hitched. "You can't do this," he shrieked. But no one was listening. The reign of Judge Marshall Davis was over. Davis shrieked, backing away from his bench. "I have..."
I don't know. Sorry about that technical difficulty, guys. Wow. I mean, did you notice the difference between, or the similarities between the CPS worker and that doctor? Well, if I don't, you hear all the double talk. "No, I'm not taking and trying to convince you. I'm not threatening you. I'm required to do that." Horse shit. Horse shit. Wait, there's the other part. Now look at this judge. Guys, this happened this past week. You don't think it's just Trump doing shit. You don't think it's just, RFK. You don't think it's just Elon Musk. There's your vice president on the stand this past week that just took out a federal judge. And did you hear what he said? The yacht club, there was 7 of them and they know who they are. Boom. You're done. We are seeding and weeding this stuff out 100%. Now that judge has to be replaced. Guess who gets to make that appointment? That's right, your president, Donald Trump, bringing us back to the Constitution and eliminating this stuff. Now, guys, just stick with us because this is just crazy. These are your people over here, our elected and appointed officials that we, the people, said we've had enough. They're working on it, but it's still up to us to do our part, and it's going to come real soon. And when it breaks loose, trust me, everybody's going to know. Be patient. It's getting worked on. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Pay attention. You're dealing with CPS past case, front case, 10 years ago case, everything else. It's going to blow your mind once this takes and all comes out. And everybody's going to be amazed. And then all the people go, well, those of you that got involved with CPS, you must have done something wrong. Yeah, I got caught up in a corrupt fucking system to traffic fucking children. It sucked. And who was there? Why? Because I felt ashamed I was going through all this. Well, let's look at it. Well, who was there for you? Was it family? No. Pointing fingers, this and that, arguments. Was your church there for you when your kids were taken? Your religion? Your organized religion institution, were they there for you? No. Turn the back on. Well, you must have done something wrong. We can't be affiliated with you. What if I told you there are certain places that run certain advocacy centers that deal with these children and turn around, and most of them are part of extreme right, we'll say, religious beliefs, even to the point they're putting down on parents their purity culture. In other words, a child should not be experiencing any sex outside of marriage. That is in some areas, depending on where you live, that they will push for that. That is unnatural. It's a violation of what's called God's law. Our body naturally evolves and develops, and we don't have to have prehistoric bullshit of the ignorance going through our sexuality to be properly educated. There's nothing wrong with that. They've even recommended from the American Pediatric Society, that even Sharon took and found, hey, it's recommended for you to use anatomically correct words. But if you do that, CPS will spin it. Oh, wait a minute. But I'm doing what the doctors and everything's recommended. It don't matter. You're teaching your kids anatomically correct word. They are not supposed to know those words. You shouldn't use those words like penis, vagina, anus. Call them by and there was a reason for it, because they said if the kids knew the actual words, these predators tend to feel so disgusted when you use the medical terminology word that it turns them off and literally stops them, is what research said, which is why they were recommending telling and teaching your kids this. Now, you want to follow for case law, right? Got one for you. This is the one for the show tonight. I am going to blow your minds. And we're researching, but tentatively right now, this looks good. We don't see a problem with it. From the best of our knowledge, this has not been overturned. I want to share with you something that deals with psychology and the law. Where'd it go here? Oh, it didn't share for some reason. Let's see if we can turn this on. Here we go. I'm going to make this larger so you guys can see it. Admissibility of statements made in forensic interview. And this is a report. See this? Commonwealth versus Rodriguez. 484 Mass 677 Mass 2020. Goes through this. It says that a forensic interview is not admissible in court. Oh, wait a minute. What? Let's go through it. Facts, and it goes through the facts of the case. It's saying it's a violation of your Sixth Amendment that you have a right to face your accuser, even in family courts. Comes right through here. You can look through it. At trial, the Commonwealth presented evidence. The victim and 3 others resided in a rooming house in Boston. He had Mr. Rodriguez, and he had and the victim had a history of arguments while living together, verbal, this and that. Who was the aggressor? Roommates goes through there, and the judge's ruling comes through, ruling and reasoning, and affirmation in affirming his murder conviction. The Massachusetts Supreme Court ruled that the trial court did not err in the judgment that the doctors made during the forensic interview. Right here, that the statements Mr. Rodriguez made to the doctors during the forensic interviews were not admissible for the truth of the matter asserted. In other words, you got to have a living body up there, not a forensic interviewing, showing a video of doing this, and that. That's for investigative purposes only. It is not to be. Once again, the court reviewed the previous case law and rules of evidence in Massachusetts and the Commonwealth versus right here, Kumatos, all that's through here, saying that what is it? Which establishes that there is a hearsay exemption, that physicians may testify as statements of past pain, symptoms, conditions, purpose of diagnosis and treatment. You guys can go through and read this. Look up the case law in it. I gave you the case law. Do your own research, which is the thing we always push for you guys. It's Commonwealth versus Rodriguez. And right there is enough that you can take and go in there and say, guess what? You didn't follow the case law. And that dates back, I believe, 2024. And that was published. Guys, you're going to have to look at that, where that was published. Where was it published? Look, the Journal of American Academy of Psychiatry and the Law. It's a legal digest. It is legitimate of how psychiatry is allowed in the law and or doctors that deals with all those things. You cannot take and do that. In other words, there was a privilege there. There was something there, that's saying it's inadmissible. Face your accuser. That's huge. That's huge with a lot of stuff. No, it's saying not common law. This is the Commonwealth. In other words, Kentucky is a state that's a Commonwealth state that goes through those particular things, and they have common law in a lot of those states, which is a Commonwealth. That's one of the minor differences, but they can adapt as they see fit for those things. So, in other words, if that was used as evidence against you, you now can file an appeal on that and quote this case law of saying, hey, it's a violation of the Sixth Amendment. But here's the thing: you file the appeal with it. But now with the appeal, you have to do a change of jurisdiction. And here's why. Because it's a constitutional rights issue. The state court does not have the right. They lost jurisdiction as soon as any one of your constitutional rights are took and violated in any case. You are to immediately do a change of jurisdiction, giving the description of just the constitutional rights that were done, quote case law and everything else with it, and how it applies to your case. Now, we've gone back through this over and over again when we talk about the Fourth Amendment violation that they take and create. The other thing that applies, that once that constitutional right has been done against you, that any evidence or anything after that moving forward is inadmissible in any court, under what is called fruit from a poisonous tree doctrine. And you can look all of this up. And that is just, like I said, it's just huge. Now, going back to, people have said, okay, well, why do you call them domestic terrorists? CPS and everything else. Well, let's go why. And we're going to go to a simple thing to take and say, hey, what is domestic, what does the Department of Justice and the FBI consider domestic terrorism? Well, let's go look. Domestic terrorism, violent criminal acts committed by individuals and or groups to further the ideological goals stemming from domestic influence that's here in the United States, such as those of a political, a religious, that's forcing your political views, or religion, or social, saying social views, your radical views, or environmental or nature views, forcing them on somebody else and committing violent acts. If it's individuals, yes, they can be charged. But if it's a group of people, it goes into that what's called a larger cell, and that is done domestically and internationally, and how they classify those things. But a domestic terrorism here, now this doesn't say anything about it, just as a group. That could be any group. That group could also include, that's right, CPS, if they meet the definition and it's proved or evidence given to them that they meet the definition of that and child trafficking, which a lot of us know is exactly going on. The issue is you have to prove it in court. You have to come in, and when somebody has that one, what activates from that, and you'll see, is a lot of these cases. You're going to hear a lot of terms coming up lately that maybe you're not familiar with. And one of the terms is whistleblower. Now, the term whistleblower means somebody that's going to take, and it deals with money or a bunch of people, and usually the RICO Act goes hand in hand with it. A whistleblower blows the lid off of the evidence that mass corruption and multi-layered and all this other stuff is going on, which is why, people like Edward Snowden and some of the others left the country for exposing a lot of these things. There's even been talk, I think, once of Trump saying that he'd like to have Snowden back due to the fact that he blew the whistle to help start some of this stuff. But once again, he doesn't feel safe. And to be honest with you, a lot of the views that we have of other countries, you got to remember, it's what they see on the news. Have any of you ever traveled to those other countries? Talked to somebody from those countries? See, we don't get it as Americans. We travel within the United States, but most of us don't travel, foreignly, to other lands. Some of it maybe when you're in the military, but you're not experiencing the full culture sometimes. Not all the time. It depends whether or not you're stationed there for a while. Then you tend to pick up a few things, which is well known for a lot of military people. But guys, that case law changes everything of saying and points it out that even if it's not applicable, say in your state, which some case laws are only good for certain districts or this and that, you can reference it of saying, listen, they found the connection with that in the Sixth Amendment, and we're basically claiming the same argument. And you can even go back into that case and quote the same thing of arguing why the same similar argument that they would have, but apply it to yourself and then quote the case law. Hey, the same thing happened to me. This was their ruling. So there's a lot of that goes in there to where some of it they have to follow and some of it they're pretty heavily suggested to follow. And that's where case law differs. Now, the federal Supreme Court, when it comes to issues on constitutional issues, they're absolute. They are for all districts when it comes to constitutional rulings, such as Fourth Amendment, such as Second Amendment, such as First Amendment, all those old cases, everything, that all are applicable of saying pretty much making the statement. Now, one of the ones that is very well known and what they've trampled over the most has been your Fourth Amendment rights. Entering your home without a warrant or court order. Matter of fact, it was even confirmed by other news sources and broadcasts on social medias that upon investigation that was the number one complaint there was about CPS was no warrant. Well, here's the issue with that. If there's no warrant, there's no case. And if that's happened to you and your case is closed, file your appeal, file for a Fourth Amendment violation. It's up to the state to prove it. And they'll say, well, they let me in, or they said, no, you were coerced. I was coerced. Why? Because your caseworker never took and divulged the fact that they're there to collect evidence against you. You have a right, even with your Fifth Amendment. I have the right to remain silent. I have the right to push you out of my fucking house. Unless you turn around and say, without a shadow of a doubt, I've seen or I've done or firsthand account. But how many of these caseworkers are going to these corrupt judges that have no firsthand experience and getting a warrant? Hey, we are upon our investigation. This is what we saw. We found we need to remove the kids. We need custody. Why are you removing kids? There's no criminal fucking case. It's none of your business what goes on to a house unless a crime has happened. And if a crime has not happened, you have no jurisdiction. But as soon as you violate my constitutional rights, even from the beginning, even if you're facing a civil case and a criminal case at the same time, and it's all bullshit, And trust me, there are cases out there that are going on just like that. Trust me, I'm fully aware of them. And I hear them all the time, and it's all made up bullshit. One of them is entrapment. Let me tell you what entrapment is. Entrapment is when CPS turns around and says and tries to convince you to sign over your kids for the safety of your kids on your safety plan, or whatever it is, giving up your custody. Can you not give them to a parent, a person in church? All those things. All those things. Can you not give them away? Well, here's the thing that they don't tell you why it's entrapment. Did you know that most states actually have a classification for a misdemeanor and or a criminal code? Some even a Class C felony, that if you give up your children, that's child abandonment, and you were just coerced by a state employee to coerce you to give up your kids and commit a felony in some states, or a misdemeanor. That's coercion to a crime. That is a felony. But they're doing it. And some of them are doing it right in front of deputies stationed right at whatever it is, CPS, CAC centers, it doesn't matter. And they sit there, and the state has told them, just sit by and don't get in the way of CPS, because that's what they're told. Guys, that is a clear violation of their statehood. Why? Because your sheriff was elected, constitutionally elected sheriff, and no state has the right to interfere with the duties of a duly elected sheriff and their deputies. So if you're a sheriff out here and you're watching this, you better get some shit in check. Because whoever wrote that and told you to do that, to surrender your powers of investigation and everything else, they committed a felony. What you should have done when you got that order, and yeah, it may be way back, you should have went and got a warrant and arrested the person that issued that, or the panel that issued that to you. Because they just interfered with the duties of every single part of that. They violated your rights over and over. But once again, the judges won't, this won't, and the sheriffs, man, you guys better wise up, man. They have pulled you into some bullshit. And I know there's some good guys out there. But let me tell you something. You're about to get jacked up. And they're going to throw you under the bus, especially if you're involved with a case with removing a child with no court order or warrant. Buddy, you're done. And let me put it to you this way. You will also serve charges, also the endorsement of crimes against a child and constitutional rights of a child. Because did you know that entering your home and questioning you on your own private property is a form of seizure under the Fourth Amendment? That's case law. That does not change. It's been ruled on over and over and over again. The Fourth Amendment, the case law that's on Fourth Amendment, go look it up. It's bulletproof. One judge even said that when an officer and a CPS worker took and came into the home, coerced their way in the home, forced their way in the home, judge made a quick ruling. You both should have known better. But at the same time, your immunity's gone. But guess what? On top of that, you just committed a constitutional rights violation, and it was ruled. You had no right. Why? Because he said, you know what he said in that case? You got to have a warrant, a court order, signed, sealed by a judge, a proper one. In other words, first point of view, we know a legal one. Because if it's not first person point of view, it's not legal. That's giving false information to obtain a warrant or a court order. They have to prove it, that they have firsthand experience. If it's second or third hand, you're not supposed to get that. Why? There's federal case law on that too. It says you can't do that. Nor an investigation. Just a need for an investigation. Not enough to get a warrant. It's already been ruled on. But they still keep writing them. One after another after another. Matter of fact, not even all of them take and write them. Some of them auto-sign them. They work so good with CPS, they just sign the judge's name with auto-sign. Don't believe me? I've seen paperwork from all 50 states. It's happening. And what was the ruling on auto signs? Null and void. You can quote the case that's going on now, null and void. It's already been ruled on. If it's not signed with a pen, and there's a whole rule for the legal aspect for the colors of pen, red, blue, black, they all have meaning, but they're not going to tell you that. But guys, it's all about educating you and making sure that you're protected. But once again, you would figure that everybody's going, oh God, I had an attorney. Why didn't my attorney know that? Because that's part of where the issue is. They don't want you to know that, because if you knew your rights, you wouldn't allow half of this shit. Because if you knew what was going on, the first thing that they tried to do with you, the first thing you'd slap them with after that Fourth Amendment violation would be a void aborigino. I'm ignoring and you have no power. It's moved. And guess what? It don't have to be adjudicated. Not at all. Not adjudicated. Okay. So you're going to, I mean, that's the whole point of it is adjudication. In other words, I don't have to go back to court. I just have to serve this to you and tell you to piss off. That's the way it's supposed to work, but they keep going. They ignore the law. When you bring up something during your court case, you've had a constitutional rights violation. You know what procedural law says? That judge or magistrate must stop because they've lost jurisdiction. When you have something come up, say like in certain cases of forgery, or you know, saying that somebody took and committed perjury on the stand, the judge is supposed to stop and have a whole separate hearing on that issue before they proceed forward. Does that happen? I can tell you personally, in my experience, nope. Judge didn't follow procedural rules. Judge violated my constitutional rights. I said it was over and over again. What the hell? And then the judge ruled on the constitutional issue herself. He said, she said. She said, I didn't let him in. He never asked me. I'm the one that owns the property, the sole owner, premarital asset. That's homesteader rights violation. And oh, well, she let me in on the stand. That's what, you know, he said. No, she didn't. She testified just the opposite. Turned her back and you walked in, Jack. Sound familiar to you guys? Or I just need to come in. That's coercion to entry. That judge said if you don't have a court order, warrant, or an emergency, imminent danger, meaning he defines imminent danger in there federally of what's imminent danger to get the imminent danger to come in. If it doesn't meet it, it gets thrown out. The state has no rights to pass anything other. They have no power. They have to follow the federal law. You don't have that. You know what he called everything after that, including the, oh, I'm your buddy. I just need to come in. Oh, well, you know, well, just let me in. Let me see. Can I see the kids? I mean, constantly just badgering about it. Come on, just get it done and we'll get it done. And I'm sure it'll get done. And there's nothing wrong. Oh, trust me, lying their asses off. That judge called that coercion and also called it illegal and unconstitutional. A clear violation of Fourth Amendment, which means what? That person should have been arrested. Had it was heard in court that was happened, and the evidence in all your cases this has happened, we know where to look for that too and what to give to them. Here's the thing. Constitutional law trumps it all, and that's what's going on. And guys, remember, this is education. This is not legal. We're not lawyers. But we can read and people understand. I don't need a piece of paper to be autodidact and read something, retain it, apply it, and everything else. It's amazing what we do a lot in the trades. Funny when you apply that to the same thing with law, case law, and you just learn the rules. It's just like code. The rest is real simple. You've got to follow the code. That's for you. But they're forcing it down our throats, 100%. And guys, this is amazing with what's going on. A lot of the conspiracy theorists and these are people that have been trying to tell us the truth for generations. Even the senator from Georgia that tried to that exposed the Georgia CPS system of massively corrupt. They killed that woman for that. A sitting senator, congressman, whatever one it was. I don't want to get into correct, so I'll throw them both out there and figure it out. They killed that woman over exposing that. They killed Epstein over what he had. They've got Diddy, but nobody's dead yet. I'm kind of surprised he's still around, to be honest with you. But a lot of things are going on. And here's the thing. We're moving back to the Constitution, but we have got to peel that layer. Because if you just cut that oven, that onion, boom, and just open it wide open, you couldn't handle what was coming off of it. It's too much. Those of us that understand a little bit more are able to take some more of that. And yes, we're all different. And not everybody's going to listen, guys. This stuff was hidden from you. You were programmed from the Department of Education on everything else and dumbed down for a reason. But those of us that enjoyed to read and enjoyed history and enjoyed a lot of those things, we just naturally fell into it because we found it fascinating. Yes, Nancy Schaefer, thank you guys. But we're going back to that Constitution, and it's going back to the people. And a lot of things you're going to see changing. You're going to see a lot of those institutions going away. Matter of fact, it was just, I think this just past week that there was a correction. Now, let me tell you what a great president has done. And this is very rare, and I want you guys to listen very well. And this impresses me. And no, I'm not pro-trial. I'm whatever it is to get us back to the Constitution. Let me tell you right now, he's leading the way up to a certain point. Is the fact that there was a ruling on suppressors here recently for the Second Amendment, and there was a change in that, and it was agreed upon whether or not it followed under the suppressors followed under the Second Amendment. And it was looked over. The president took and looked at it and says, yes, it does not fall under the Second Amendment. You don't have a right to it. Pam Bondi come back, and there was an argument brought to her from the gun community that says, well, what about this? Well, Pam Bondi ended up going back to President Trump and saying, wait a minute, they are covered under the Second Amendment, guys. They are. Now, what's going to happen to the tax stamp and everything else? I don't know, but it's going to probably take that tax stamp off. And everybody says, oh, everybody's going to go around shooting everybody, and you can't do this and this. And I go, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And for people to call them silencers, they're not silencers. They suppress decibel levels by re-engineering or the escape gases that come to push the bullet out. It redirects those particular things into chambers and makes it less of an impact is what it does. It reduces the decibel level to where we can't hear it, which a lot will use. And that's for a different time for somebody else to explain. Go to the Gun Guys, go watch them. They're great channels out there. Get your education on your firearms, your ammunition, and everything else. But this is for hearing protection. If any of you that hunt, shoot, we'll say target practice, anything else, this is so you can be out there and actually you don't have to have damage to your hearing. This was happening. There was a thing, I think in the 80s and stuff, to where the military actually had to pay veterans because of damage to their eardrums because of the noise canceling, earbuds that they were putting in, so on and so forth, that affected their hearing and did damage. This was a serious issue. We've taken and changed a few of those things, some of the design from them. There's a lot of noise canceling. I mean, we've done a lot of advancements in that. But one thing that would take, and once again, articles of war say you can't suppress, obviously other units that do special operations, so on and so forth. Yes, they want that amount of privacy and not to awaken. Obviously, that makes sense. In a hot zone, we want our boys to be safe, but here at home, we want to protect our hearing too. And I think that was a great ruling, but to reverse your position on it says a lot to me. We were wrong, but we'll correct it. That's what we're supposed to be doing, and our leaders are supposed to be doing. Oops, somebody proved us wrong. Let's change it. That's what the case laws are supposed to do. People are screwing up. You're supposed to change it. The problem is the states are not following the case law because they think they're still under the Chevron indifference, and we're no longer under the Chevron indifference. That has been overturned. Specialists, the law applies to everybody, and case law applies to everybody. SEC versus Jarsky turns around and says, hey, these administrative judges, which are Article 1 judges, which are all judges, that don't take, and if you've got something in there to where they can take things from you, or part of the case is to take things from you, or has that power within there, and they're not working in their administrative powers, which is the administrative powers is more of a mediation. And to give you an idea, divorce court wasn't supposed to be like that. The idea of it was supposed to be mediation, that it's clear and simple under the law. You get what you got before the marriage, and then we evenly divide or equitably divide to where both parties are happy, half of half. That's the law. There's no more getting unless you're doing a contested divorce. The rules are a little bit different, but these no fault divorces, that's what it means is you're just both checking out. There's no doing this and that. If not, you have a contested divorce. When you go through this division, and here's the issue is the judges were supposed to force you in their administrative powers to mediate. And one judge give a perfect example of how he handled divorce cases. And it's this. You all are here in my court. You can come to an equitable splitting of your assets and everything else to determine this and that. And then they got into the child shit. It was this and that. Hey, guys, work all that stuff out. Come back to me next time. See what you come up with. Well, it goes into a mediation outside the courtroom between the lawyers, and they negotiate this, that, and then they come back to the court and they say, listen, we can't come to an agreement on things. We need the judge to say. He goes, okay, well, listen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue this one more time, and this is what I'm going to do. You two come back, and looking at both the people getting divorced, come back with me in an equitable, fair contract you both can live with, and stop the silliness, because here's what I'm going to do if I get this. I may give you the kitchen table, but I'm giving him the legs and the screws. I'll give you the body of the car, but I'm not giving you the engine or the transmission. You got to jerk that out. Now, do you think you two can come back, or am I going to have to take and deal with this? Because you're being silly, you're being immature. Be adults. If you're adult enough to get divorced, you're adults enough to divide your assets and call it, both ways. We're not going to play hurting each other. We're not going to play this game. We're not going to play the abuse and all the other cards that these lawyers are trying to do. And yes, there are attorneys out there, divorce attorneys, telling their clients to file CPS cases of abuse and so on and so forth to gain custody of their kids. This needs to stop. 100%. If you haven't called in beforehand, you don't get to claim it now. There should already be a police report and everything else on record for you to take and bring that in there. I'm sorry if you agree or don't agree. That's what the law says. Have an equitable time. Otherwise, why didn't you complain about it now? Why is there no police reports to back it up now? Those are the questions the judge would then take and say, problem where we need to deal with this, or there's a criminal action that's happened in it. But once again, innocent until proven guilty. So you're going to have to wait to get divorced until after the case to see whether or not it's not, because we can't do that in this courtroom. That's conjecture. We have to have case law. It has to pass, so on and so forth. Those are the facts. That's the way they're supposed to run. And that was mediation. But once a judge moves from mediation to now I have to physically do it, they're working in their judicial role is what they're doing. They're physically dividing the shit, basically your shit, that you can't agree on. And he's going to do it according to the law. Pre-assets, give me a list. Pre-assets, marital assets. What's left? Where's the mortgages? Where's this, that? We're going to play, let's play it, let's make a deal. Well, then the court gets a bunch of money. See, before, the only reason you came into court was when you had a contested divorce. And then the judge had to deal with it. Well, then the states come up, hey, we're making pretty good money off this. Now the states, guess who come up with a no contest divorce? The states in the family courts that the states created. And that's being, and I get your feelings may get hurt, but that's what's fair and equitable under the law. And I know it's what a lot of people don't want to hear, and viewers may go up and down. Oh, he said something. That's the law, man. Whether we like it, your feelings don't, listen, it ain't about your feelings when you go in the courtroom. And that's the other problem with family courts. It's all feelings, nothing about facts, because nobody's following the facts. Because there's people out here been, jacked up by CPS and on lists and all this other stuff with no evidence. But they're put on a list, and then they get money, and then they add for more money because now we can dip into, hey, let's get them, try and get them away from, and destroy this family. So now we can get the kids over here and possibly wear down the single mom because the house is divided. Now I got your kids because you can't support your kids. We're going to make you suffer, and then we're going to steal your kids from you. And that's exactly what it does. Or put you on the system. Now you're in the system. You're getting this, you're getting this. You're not standing on your own 2 feet. Well, I can't. choices in life, man. That's all I can say. And there are some things to help you get on your feet. And that's the way it was supposed to be. Hey, give them so much for a certain amount of time till they get on their feet. And a lot of people, well, all I've done is a stay-at-home wife, and I've done this, or even a man. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I haven't. It goes both ways. Well, who's responsible for your time? Did you do any education, furthering your education, this, that? Oh, well, I didn't. Man, your kids get a certain age, man, they're on autopilot. You ain't got to do much for them once they get so old. When they're younger, yeah, they take a lot of attention and a lot of your time. But eventually, they get used to doing the things they have to do. You have free time. And what you do with that free time is your decision. I've even told, like I was telling mine, she has a degree in psychology and early childhood development. I don't have to worry about that. I says, well, what do you want to do here? Well, I'm out of the workforce. At least I can build up my education. And she loves to read. So she goes down trails of the same thing she does that she was trained to, like I said, she has a degree in and several other things to actually do the research and connect the dots to where it makes sense. Because a lot of what CPS is psychological warfare. And a lot of people don't realize it's playing games and messing with it because it's all about that. And let me tell you something, the military mayor had those stress cards. Thank you. The stress card. There you go. Hold up that stress card, because parents don't get a stress card in family court. They don't give a shit about your medical conditions. You don't believe me? Right there. Congestive heart failure. The courts gave me nothing. No ADA. Then they stressed me through everything. And once all that comes out, the corruption, everything else, that's right. You tried to kill me. From 45% down to less than 14% left. That's attempted murder. So once it comes out, and I know you're watching and I know you're freaking out because you don't know what I'm going to do. You don't know who, I've talked to some people, some stuff's going on, but everybody's just waiting around, seeing what old Gunner's going to do. Well, I guess we're going to play the biggest game of fuck around and find out. And let me explain something. When a Gen X, especially somebody like me, plays that game, let me tell you something. There's the thing that you caught a lot of parents on, because you came in and you fought to win, but you fought dirty. And you fought illegally. Once again, if that's the way we're going to play, then game on. Because when the script is flipped, we're coming after everything. All the parents are coming after everything. Every single one of you. I'm talking the judges. Yes, we got the evidence to show that you violated our constitutional rights. We have all of it. All of you in every state, you're screwed. CPS workers, yes, you were informed, but that doesn't negate your responsibilities for the crimes you did of kidnapping children with no warrant or court order because you thought you worked for the state. That immunity is about to completely disappear. 100%. That I'm going to tell you for sure. That's going to be gone, because once the curtain comes back, as I told my wife when I started her down this trail of showing everything, once you put on the glasses, you can never take them off, because once you see the bullshit and the games and the lies and the manipulations of this and that, of going, wow. So, and like I said, and like I tell Sharon too, she put it up there too in the comments, guys, this is a game of chess, not checkers. And CPS wanted to force you on a checkerboard, and maybe they whooped you in the checkerboard, but they didn't realize with some of us, you were also sitting on the chessboard, and we were just waiting for you guys to take and do this. Guys, as most of you know, I come from the Chicagoland area. Guys, hit the like and follow. Share us out there. We're on here every week, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. This was our case law week. Next week, we've got some mental health. We deal with that off and on, because mental health is very important for all of us, especially those of us that are going through it. And we're in different spots. Either we're just encountering CPS and we're freaking out of what's happening. We're in the middle of court cases. We're in the middle of this, and there's a lot of emotions in there. But one thing you've got to understand, the court doesn't look, and they're playing you off your emotions. They look at you as a business and your children as commodities, and they believe that they have the power over them, and they don't. because there's a lot of things in there that there's corruption going on, a lot of other things that were done. Listen, I will guarantee you that each and every one of the 50 states is guilty of treason and sedition because of this organization. And when that comes out, game over. Game, set, match, it's done. We'll get the rest of the reset. Now, I know you guys have had a lot of hope. Listen, this has been going on for years. It's been going on for decades. But understand this, when this rolls back and you realize how things are getting done, every single one of you can do the same thing and drain the coffers of what is called, many have called the corporation, big business, the underground, several other different names that they've had for them. I know you guys have probably heard 1,000 of them, the deep state, so on and so forth. Guys, it's going to drain every bit, because once it's revealed what is happening to our children, it's done. And when they come after them and they realize that you've lied to the American people, labeled these people what you have, and then lied to the American people that there is an infestation of just all this perverseness and all this other stuff, they are creating this misnomer, because none of these, these cases should have not been even in court. In other words, they shouldn't have collected money off of it. They shouldn't have got any funding off it, anything else. Why? Because it started out with a fucking crime. And then it was covered up by the judicial system. And when he's talking about those corrupt judges and everything else, I know nothing. That's all I'll say. Guys, coming from the Chicagoland layer, we're not the only ones that are working with CPS. Guys, check this out. We're going to close out the show here. I know it's been run, but we've had a lot of information we shared tonight. New case law, everything else. Guys, I want you to listen to this song. It's freaking killer. It's done by a guy. It was done about a case. He was seeing what was going on. He wrote a song. From my understanding, he's out of the Chicagoland area. We have talked to those that, like I said, either the song is about them or something they shared. We're good with it. From my understanding that we've got the clearances for it. So guys, and like I said, check out our show. And if you guys, if you've missed our show or anything else, go on our YouTube channel under the CPS Breaking News Network, and you'll find Gunning for CPS, and you can go back and watch past shows and catch up with what we've got. And guys, you're not that too far buried, and there's a lot of information, a lot of meat in those. Like I said, we do a show every other week, one for case law, the other one for mental health. So pick and choose. You'll see we're doing the best we can. We are growing. We've got some great new songs that our producers put together and for our show, specifically for our show. We're trying to get the advertising, guys. Get that out there. Our show's coming. If you don't like it, follow me on Facebook or in some of the Facebook groups and so on and so forth. When that pops up, go to the YouTube channel, hit the like and follow. Sign up for your YouTube channel, and you will get a notification every time we go live. As well as every other show for the CPS network that you want to take and like and follow. That way you don't miss out on what we're covering, what we're talking about, and you guys stay informed, up to date, and know what's going on. But trust me, guys, there's a lot going on. And when it does, and when this pops, you want to be here. You guys will be the first ones in and part of the beginning group of saying, oh, you should see from the beginning what was going on. Trust me, you're going to want that excitement, because there's a lot of changes, but understand this too. We, the people, are the government. These are elected officials and actors, appointed officials and actors. Okay. They're not the government. So watch what you say when you talk about, well, the government, no, our elected and appointed officials and actors. We, the people, are the government, and they're getting ready to be reminded of that. Guys, check this show, this sound out. It's called System Ain't Broken, It's Fixed. And I'm gonna leave the lyrics up for this, and check this out.
Down in these county offices, something ain't right, kids. Getting shuffled through the system day and night. Title 4 money flowing like a river of gold, while families get get torn apart and children's hearts grow cold. They teaching DCFS how to cook books and bend rules, using children's lives like they're nothing but tools. Background checks missing, contractors rolling through, no training, no vetting. Tell me what kind of system is you? System ain't broken, nah, it's fixed. It's fixed. Money in pockets while the children get missed. Coders over quality, that's how they play. Breaking up families just to get that pay. Families just to get that pay. Constitutional rights, man, they toss them in the trash. All they see is dollar signs and government cash. 5D funding got them acting like they care, but behind closed doors, man, it's all warfare. They got a court system running like a factory line, separating mothers from their babies all the time, training workers how to bend until the law breaks, while somebody's child is paying for their mistakes. They say follow the money, but the trail runs cold through the halls of justice, where our children's lives are sold. Yeah, they say follow the money, but what do we find? Just broken promises and broken lives behind. Yeah, now listen up, y'all, I'm about to break it down. How they work in this system all around this town. Got these workers trained to hit their numbers anyway. Don't matter if it's legal, long as fun it comes their way. Breaking families apart like it's some kind of game. Filing false reports, ain't nobody taking blame. But we ain't staying quiet, no, we ain't staying still. Time to expose the truth, yeah, it's time to keep it real. System ain't broken, nah, it's fixed. It's fixed. Money in pockets while the children get missed. Quotas over quality, that's how they play. Breaking up families just to get that pay. Families just to get that pay. Y'all think this is just another song, but this here's a warning shot to every office pushing papers while our children's futures rot. The truth gonna come to light, ain't no stopping what's about to drop. Cause when it comes to our children, this fight ain't never gonna stop. Contractors come and contractors go. No background checks, how would we know? They break the families, that's the plan. Meet the quotas while they can. But someone's watching, someone sees the fraud behind these agencies. Gunner and Chris, yeah, you heard that right. They ain't in it for nothing but bringing this treason to light. Someone's gotta break these chains. Someone's gotta make this just, so we can all in. Cause in God we trust.
Oh. Guys, let me tell you something. You don't think this show reaches? This show reaches all the way to Chicago. It reaches all the way to California. It reaches all across these United States. Guys, people are waking up. They're hearing this. You guys paying attention? Because here's the thing. They are. And guess what? They're waking up. And they're hearing voices, and guess what? It's done. Guys, like I said, hit the like and follow. Check us out next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And if you don't catch our live shows, don't forget to check out the CPS Breaking News Network and like our show and go back and watch all the past ones. You can also catch a couple of our videos that are on there on expose.cps.tn at and that's up there .com or that goes up there for my show and my channel that's over there on YouTube, and there's some of the testimonies, some of the other things on my personal case that you guys will know. But like and follow that. We also broadcast on our channel there on YouTube that replays this show there live. So if you like and follow there, you'll catch it here. Guys, we want to thank you for everything, and we want to thank you for joining us. Join us again next week. We've got more out there. Keep tracking, keep trucking. If you've got issues with suicide, please talk to somebody. Do not do it. It's not worth it. Don't let them take your power. Take time for you. Work on your healing. Get yourself ready for your kids to come back home. Get in your mindset. Understand this is psychological warfare, And at the same time, once we flip it around, we're not taking any prisoners. Why? Because the biggest shenanigans are almost over with, and rubber's going to meet the road, and you and I will stand on top with our families as we make sure that those that have taken our families and destroyed our country are held accountable. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the reckoning. Welcome back to the original Constitution. I'm your host, Gunner. Check us out next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
For justice we demand. Gunning for CPS off our land. For family truth with a strong hand. Time to rise, take a stand.